morning, buenos dias, everyone, and welcome to Urban Update. I am Alberto Vasallo. Now, on today's show, make no mistake about it, 2019 is shaping up to be the year of the woman. We'll talk to the women behind yesterday's 7th Annual Women's Conference held in Randolph. That's later on in the program. Also on the show, a program designed to essentially define Boston's public art identity. And you'll meet curator, artist, and cultural changemaker Kate Gilbert. Her team is looking to place Boston as a public art city. But up first, local artist Stephen Hamilton's journey. Now, he was born and raised in Roxbury. Hamilton is an artist and arts educator living and working here in the city of Boston. He is the creator of the Founders Project, a large-scale multimedia installation incorporating painting, weaving, and sculpture art traditions. Now, his work reimagines Boston Public High School students as the legendary founders of West and West Central African ethnic groups. Now, using methods from the West African tradition, Hamilton and his students create costumes and backgrounds that the students are then photographed in assuming the role of these African ancestors. Now, Hamilton was chosen as part of Public Art Curator Now and There's first cohort of Accelerator Artists, which is a program created for early to mid-career Boston area artists to successfully participate in the dynamic realm of public art. Now, more on that in a bit with Kate. But now, let's please welcome Stephen Hamilton to the show. What's up, my man?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
I was talking to Kate about the 80s and all the wonderful things that happened in Boston. And then you said, well, I was born in the 80s.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, it made us both feel old. But
yeah. I was born the year they actually tore down the elevated train in Dudley. So it's really interesting that I was born that same year. So, you know, that transition in terms of Boston is like an important transition.
Absolutely. I remember when the T used to do that stuff. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool. And what you do is pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit first about the Founders Project. How do you describe it to folks?
So the Founders Project is a multimedia project that reimagines Boston Public School high school students as legendary African kings and queens from West and Central Africa. The pieces, what makes the project unique is that the pieces are painted on hand-woven textiles, and each of the textiles they're painted on are drawn from traditional West African textiles. Each of the frames that's used is hand-carved. All of the materials that are used in the production of the textiles and the frames are traditional materials, so all of the dyes are natural dyes, all of the pigments are natural pigments that would have been used in pre-colonial Africa as well.
And what's been kind of the reaction of the Boston Public High School students? Why'd you want to incorporate the students in this?
Well, I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. My background a lot of my background has been working with high school students. I worked for Artists for Humanity for 5 years. I work for Artward Bound now as part of my job as a professor at Mass Art. So I love working with high school students. And I also remember as a high school student, I'm wanting to learn more about pre-colonial Africa in class, and that not being available to me. So I try to approach that with my artwork.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because you are from Roxbury.
Yes.
At what age did you kind of know you had this artistic tendency and you want to go into it? And did you have any role models, or how did you get into it?
I love art. I love art making. I grew up in a town, in a neighborhood that's very art, where there was a lot of public art. So I remember seeing murals by Gary Rickson and Dana Chandler and Paul Goodnight, seeing work by these amazing artists who are working in Roxbury, who are also talking about the African past. So that really inspired me. And I think I've always enjoyed drawing and painting, but I started taking classes. I got into the Museum of Fine Arts Scholarship Program. I was part of Art a la carte, which was a nonprofit organization that helped students put together their portfolios for college. And that really put me on my trajectory to say, okay, art is the thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
You know what I thought was found pretty cool is you went to the Massachusetts School of Art and Design.
Yeah.
But now you're a teacher there,
Yeah,
right?
I'm a teacher there. I teach in the Illustration and Studio Foundation department, and I teach for Artward Bound as well.
Do you teach side by side to some of your side by side with some of your former teachers?
Yes, I do, which is really interesting.
Do you still call them like Mr. and Mrs.?
Well, it's an art,
like Bob now.
It's an interesting thing. Like with art schools, it's a smallish art school. So like we called them by our first name when we were students there. But it is a different dynamic once you're a professor there, and they're a professor.
Colleagues, right?
Yeah, it's a different thing.
That's cool. That's cool. All right, so you know what? Let's talk a little bit about Now and There, the Accelerator Artist Program. We're going to do a little bit more with Kate when she comes on next segment. But let's talk about your experience. How do you describe that to people? Because that's a little different.
That was an incredibly rewarding experience. It taught me a lot about the process of developing public art projects. It provided me with valuable information because this is a realm that I want to work in again. It's amazing to be part of a cohort of artists, but it was also amazing to be given the chance to do a project that I've wanted to do for so long. Like, I've had the idea for doing this project for a long time, and it was amazing to have that support from an organization that really believed that I could do it.
All right, what was that project, by the way?
So it was the Founders Project. So I wanted to do.
Oh, so the Founders Project is a result of
Now and There. So like Now and There is the accelerator program that funded the Founders Project, but also provided the support for its development.
Now I see the connection because, and I do want to put up the website because you are under the Now and Their website, right?
Yes.
So it's nowandthere.org, then /Founders Project. So that now I can make the connection. That's very, very interesting. Now, how were you able to get in, and how did you find out about it?
I was nominated. So I was nominated, and Kate contacted me via email, and then we had a phone call conversation once, I got in. So it was like a really interesting, serendipitous thing. So I got an email saying that I've been nominated. They asked me for supplementary materials. So they asked me for an explanation of why public art, why that's something that's very important to me and my CV. And then I was informed by Kate that I got into the accelerator, and I still didn't fully understand what that meant until our first meeting, which was also a really awesome experience. So, it was all sort of, you get approached with an opportunity, and then it takes you a little while to realize the magnitude of it.
Right. And I imagine you met fellow artists that you would not have met otherwise.
Yes, I did meet fellow artists that I did not really engage with before, and that was an amazing experience. But I also had the chance to also work in a capacity with people who were mentors for me. So another cohort member, Equa Holmes, was an incredibly prominent artist, very prominent artist from Roxbury, who actually grew up in my neighborhood, has always been a mentor to me and inspiration for me, and it was really awesome working with her in that capacity.
Do you think that programs like this are important in the city of Boston? Because you don't hear about it in the news. Yeah. You really, it's almost like this hidden area that you don't really see or read much about.
I think it's incredibly important. I think what's really awesome about it is that the focus on public art is really encouraging people to think about communities and creating artwork within communities. And the cohort was also, the cohort that I was working with was also very dedicated to engaging in addressing issues that face Boston communities. And I also think that it's incredible that they were also funding artists who are from Boston. So they were also funding a good portion of artists who are from Boston or very deeply engaged in Boston and Boston communities.
All right, well, I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds to be a promoter of this. I want Jen to put up the website, but sell it. Why should people go on this website and check it out?
Well, you should check out Now and There because they're giving support to artists who are going to be creating beautiful pieces throughout the city. A lot of times we have questions about what this art is that pops up in our neighborhood, in our city, and this is giving you an insight into who those artists are. I also encourage you to check out the Founders Project at the Bowling Building as well.
Exactly, and we're going to have Kate next.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tease that now. Hey, thank you for stopping by.
Thank you so much for having me.
A lot of good luck for you, Stephen. All right, you heard it here. When we come back, Kate Gilbert, helping to define Boston's public art identity. You'll get to meet her right here on Urban Update.